Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again here for our weekly Facebook Live event. I'm Rick, health coach with HMR for a long time, with my longtime friend and colleague, Nancy. Hello there, Nance.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here with you, Rick.
Yeah, hope everyone's doing well tonight. I'd like to thank those of you who are taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. Of course, Nancy, it's becoming a thing. We have to thank our regulars for being here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you are here, please post a comment to let us know that you are here. And also, for those who are newcomers, welcome, welcome. Our goal here is to really sort of round out the support that the HMR program provides for you and to really help you regardless of whatever phase of the program you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Nance, a little birdie spoke to me this week and suggested that there are a lot of people who are doing the program who share this space with us on Thursday nights, but there are also people who are delivering the program who attend and contribute. So I'd like to just do a particular shout out. We would love to know, by the way, if you are someone who supports people in the HMR program, let us know by posting a comment. But I wanted to acknowledge, Nancy, Becky from Altru Weight Loss. Hello there. Nice to see you there. I hope you're here. Let us know. Please post. And it's just great to have you here. And we heard that you're finding the time that you're spending here valuable. So that's really great. Really, really awesome. So, Nance.
Wonderful. We've already got Shane. Thanks, Shane.
Hey, great.
Shane was,
awesome.
He says he's present.
Shane is present.
So, not on the camera this week, but I think everybody can agree that Shane was so valuable with our conversation on phase 2 last week, and we'll get to do more of that or talk more about that in a little while.
Yeah.
We've got some of our coaches on. We've got Jen Collins and Kate Ehrman.
Hey, Jen. Great. Good.
And Sherry's here.
Sherry. Awesome.
Another coach, John Niehaus. Lots of people coming in.
Awesome. Great. Really, really good. Love it. So we'll just sort of tease this right now and then come back to it and really dive in, Nance. But the topic tonight is that one that we feel like we have to revisit periodically, right? The whole idea of getting back on track with your health habits, whatever phase you're in the program. You know, the culture we live in just almost guarantees that everyone at some point will go off track. So how do you regain your momentum? That is sort of the question here. And that might be when things are a little bit loose, or maybe when things have gone way off the rails. Any of that is appropriate here. And by the way, I always say this, Nance, but please just talk over me and interrupt me when you want to welcome anyone or share a comment, because it's really
we got a lot of people coming on, saying hi. Lydia's a coach, we know, and she's on every week.
Awesome. Cool.
We've got Sharon here, who's always with us every week. We've got Tracy, another coach. We've got Doug, who's coming back to HMR after having been gone for 3 years. So thrilled to have you back, Doug.
Wow.
So glad you're back joining us.
I wonder, how are you doing it, Doug? Are you doing it on your own? Are you doing it with the coaching? Is the coaching on the phone? Is it in person? I'd love to know, or remotely through a clinic program. Would love to hear that. That's great, Doug. Welcome back. Awesome. Well, I was mentioning whatever phase of the program you're in, Nancy. Obviously, getting back on track applies to everybody. So,
it does,
right?
And even if you're on track, right? This is going to apply because if you're on track,
that's right.
Number one, it helps you stay on track. Or if at some point everybody goes off track, so you're going to want to have backup plans for that. So It's good for everybody. Welcome to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also acknowledge that we did revisit this in a Facebook Live. How many? 8 months ago? September. It was after the perennial debate. What's harder, the holidays or the summertime?
Right.
I think there's an edge on the summertime being tougher.
That's always been my opinion.
Yeah. So, me too. So as much as January 1 is sort of the stake in the ground moment for so many people, September is a huge moment. And so what we did, my former co-host Stephanie and I had a whole conversation about getting back on track. So this is not a repeat of that conversation. In fact, you might want to look at this as chapter 2 of that conversation. Just very quickly, Nance, Stephanie and I sort of approached it. It was very much like a broad helicopter view of how does one get back on track. And we highlighted 3 concepts. Concepts now, again, a broad view. The need for structure versus no structure, which usually leads to being off track. The need for accountability, however you can find it, whether it's with a coach live or however, even if it's just using the HMR app, all of that counts as accountability. And then the last thing was the importance of planning. The notion of you can say you're going to get back on track, and you can say you're going to do X, Y, Z to get back on track, but if you haven't really planned out the details, you may not be getting back on track. So, structure, accountability, and planning, we hit on that. Here, we're sort of narrowing the funnel. Right? Actually, that sort of diminishes it. We're going deeper. Now that we've got those broad concepts, we're going into what are the actions? What are the strategies? The actual boots on the ground how-tos to support you to get back on track. So that's what we want to talk about. Nancy will talk about this later, but we want those of you who have strategies, you have to share them, okay? As part of this, you are partnering with us here. We need to have not just Nancy and my strategies, we need your strategies. So the time will come, we're going to ask you to share those. But the other point is, it's just the nature of this work, right, Nancy? You hear ideas, you have to sample new strategies, right?
No doubt. That's the whole, it's constant learning. Constant. I've been doing this for over 30 years and I still learn.
Yeah.
You're never at a point where I got this, I figured it all out, I got everything I need. And
right.
No, it's always you want new things.
Yep. So I'm hoping Katie can post so that it's easily accessible the link to the conversation about getting back on track in September, post-summer, that Stephanie and I had. And now we've got this one. The only other material or resource that, to me, Nancy, you and I have talked about this. We actually, I think, collaborated in the writing of this article. There's an article on the HMR program website that's called Resolving to Change. You may have to begin again and again, implying and again and again. So that is we've got a lot of really great feedback from readers about that article. Maybe we can
very practical.
Yeah.
It's very practical.
But also it like introduces this idea of getting away from all or nothing black and white thinking, which we are all slaves to so often. I mean, if those of you listening can know of what I speak, hit like. All or nothing thinking is who we are. Human beings like things to be black and white. We are not comfortable with ambiguity. And yet, long-term successful weight management, if nothing else, is getting more comfortable with the ambiguity and the changing landscape that every day, every week, every month sort of throws at you as you're trying to be healthier and support a lower body weight. So those are a couple of resources, Nance. Let me ask, you want to take a minute? Are there any other attendees that you want to welcome?
Yeah, I really would like to spend, and talking about, beginning again and again, Doug's joined us, Sharon's with us, who's always here, and she's sharing that she went back to HMR decision-free to lose more, and she's now under her original lowest HMR weight.
That's great. She's
now hit 100-pound weight loss, and if I remember correctly from last week, Sharon's started to transition into phase 2. So,
correct.
Again, you never say never. You just keep trying. It's just fabulous. And we've got Jeanette here. We've got Casey. We've got Kim. She said, finally found you guys. So glad about that. Cheryl's here again. Oh, Doug. He's doing it on his own with the HMR app. Welcome, Doug. Glad you're with us. Bob's here. He's usually here. Leo again. This is my second time on here. Great. I'm glad you're back, Leo.
Awesome, Leo.
And he's saying this is a topic I need as I've plateaued and I'm having a real problem staying in the box and losing weight. Okay, great. So this is
perfect. Great
for you. Nancy's here again. Oh, I have to say this because this reminds me so much of myself. Just bear with me. So Sharon
go.
says, I'm only 5 feet tall, and I always used to tell people that I was big boned. and which is the way I felt. I felt I was built like my father, and I was big boned. And then I lost weight, and I found out I had a petite bone structure, which I also discovered that I was built that way. And it's really funny how you don't even realize it.
Yeah. Thanks, Sharon. You're always so strong in your comments and sharing your just personal experience, like this whole journey. So I really appreciate every time you post. It's awesome. Thank you for that.
And Shane saying, Shane successfully keeping off, 160 pounds. I do a 30-day phase 1 Healthy Solutions push to reset whenever I need it. So again, catching it, we all have the times, and then catching it, but earlier rather than after a lot. And, not feeling bad about that. Just get back into phase 1 structure.
Yeah,
so,
let me say something about that. Shane, thanks for commenting on that. Doesn't that tie directly back to what the three of us, you, me, and Nancy, talked about last week around people sometimes think that phase 1 is a one-shot deal. And in some ways, it has them hanging in there maybe past when they should be transitioning to a time, phase 2, where you're expanding your variety of healthy foods. It's just a perfect endorsement of it. The program is dynamic. You use it so that it aligns with where you're at around your level of motivation, but also the circumstances that your life is presenting to you. I mean, these things have to align, or else you're not going to be able to pull off a stint of weight loss. So that's a great point. Great point. And if anyone hasn't seen that, let's say, first installment, Nancy, of you and me and Shane speaking about phase 2, please go back and listen to that. It's important content, and we're going to add to it in the weeks ahead.
And Shane shares a very powerful story.
Yeah.
Really, really inspiring. All right, we got a lot more people coming on. We've got Sarah coming on from Tennessee. Iris, I love Iris says, perfectionism is tough. Boy, that is so true, right? We got Karen on, Susan. She's saying, any words of wisdom for me? I'm staying on track, but still feel like my weight is inching up.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is good. This is all part of the learning process, Susan. We talked about that last week.
I love that perfectionism point, Nancy. It's like, I would like anyone on who's watching, would you mind posting who you've seen, someone who's perfect, like literally perfect, is absolute perfect at they're managing their weight? There's nobody. Let me just tell you that right now. People sometimes say, oh, Nancy, it's so easy for you. I mean, I know how hard you work at it. I know how hard I work at it.
Yeah.
There is no perfection. And yet the irony of that is that you hold yourself against this standard of it's always got to be a good week of weight loss when I'm in phase 1. And once the fantasy, Nance, describe it. I'll do it verbally here.
I'm going to lose all my weight. I'm going to reach my goal weight, and then I'm going to keep it all off forever, or maybe even lose a little bit more.
Yeah, nice straight line. Yeah. There's no such thing. So let go of that whole perfection thing. Nancy, you and I have been listening to a very interesting podcast on habit formation, and I thought the whole focus on process versus results. When you're totally results oriented, you give the process short change, and ultimately it compromises your ability to get the results.
Right. That is the most important part. It's all part of that planning.
Yep. All right. Let's.
All right. We're not going to avoid this any longer. It's time for the accountability spotlight.
Yes, it is. Let me take. Do you want to describe it real quick for people who might be watching for the first time?
Oh, you go ahead and describe it.
Okay. It's all it is it's a sort of a something that we do in this public forum to support you if you're watching, and if you choose to be under the accountability spotlight, to follow through on what you said you were going to do. I mean, accountability, the third week in a row I think I'm saying this, Nancy.
Right.
It is the closest thing to magic, to getting you to follow through on what you say you're going to do. And the example that we always like to use, Nancy, is the whole, if you never collect the homework, how many of your kids are going to do the homework if it never gets collected? So, so that's what the accountability spotlight is. It's an opportunity to say you're going to do something, and then follow up.
We follow up as a way to support you to follow through. And if you don't follow, like if something happens and it doesn't work, we review that too, and you decide to either redo it or you find something else. So, Rick, speaking of which, So 2 weeks ago, I gave Rick a blast plan related to vegetables and fruits. And like a really high day for you is typically 10, right?
I always say that. 10. Yes.
10.
10 is a high
So
day.
I pushed him. I pushed him with what we call a blast plan, which is like going well above what even your high is. And I asked him to take on a 12. So being a good sport, he did. And these are high numbers, but I know he can eat a lot of food. So,
I'm a big volume eater. Let's not cut corners here. I like to eat a lot of food.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable doing this with him because I know how he eats. So followed up last week, and you got to 11.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a bit about it, and I said, as you look back at it, is there anything you think you would do differently? And you said, I need to start earlier. And I said, are you willing to take it on again? You said, yes. So, Rick, were you able to pull off a 12-serving day this week?
Yes. Next question.
Yes. All right.
I did it.
All right. I love it. So, it was a push, obviously. So, did you try anything new? Any new strategies that you used during that day?
I absolutely did. In
what'd
fact,
you do?
I needed to do a few different things. As for those who watched last week, I needed to eat more frequently, particularly in the afternoon. I waited too long.
Yeah, you waited.
So there were a couple of things that come to mind, but the big one, if I could just pick on one, is I did the old sliced apple. You know those wonderful devices, one push and you get all these sliced apple.
Yeah, corn peeler. Yeah.
Put it in a just a Ziploc bag, a little equal, and then I put PB2 powder on it. It adds like a starchy, almost carbohydrate-y mouthfeel to it. And I was eating it, and I'm like, this is tremendous. So I have done the apple thing 3 times. If I do it one more time today, it'll be 4 times since I first did it. So that's just one of a couple of different things that I did.
Great.
Yeah.
So you've got a brand new snack that you really love, you look forward to, and you're not diving into whatever you could be diving into. That's perfect. So was there any other value that you got from doing this push?
Yes. So new strategies, no doubt. Everyone's busy. And for me, one of the things I've experienced during the whole isolation period is just like, it's almost like there's no lines of demarcation between anything. It's like, my life, and I look back and it's like, what happened this week? It created this aura or this feeling of awareness about my day, because I realized I was up to something big, Nance. 12 was big, and I only didn't make it the first week.
Yeah, you had to really plan all day or focus on it all day.
I did. In fact, it was almost always there, but I was into it. I chose to do this plan. If you remember, I sort of spontaneously asked you to give me a blast plan. That wasn't planned 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, that wasn't. You're right.
Yeah. So it just had me sort of looking at the day as much more of a project. If I can quote one of our dear resources, Rita, who's always said, look at this work in your program as a project. And so new behaviors, a heightened sense of awareness, and like I mentioned with the apples, and then I'm also going to throw in shelled edamame, which was there, and I ate it as a snack, and then I actually ate it after dinner as well, and then I followed that up with something sweet. And I'm all over the shelled edamame. I always knew I liked the when it wasn't shelled, but this was a totally new behavior. So I got 2 clear takeaways from that.
Great. How did it feel when you accomplished it?
I have to say, even when I got the 11, and certainly with the 12, I felt successful. I felt like I did what I said I was going to do, and I knew I had pushed myself. I think that's the part of it that I think that's probably what you're going for with that question.
Well, I think, anytime I've had people come back and say, I did it, I got in 10, I got 11, and it's like a Rocky moment, right?
Yeah.
It's like suddenly you've broken through your glass ceiling, you've done something that you didn't even realize you could do.
True.
And it feels good, and it's good for your self-confidence, and I think you're just more likely. I bet if I said, so would you do a 12 another time, you would say yes, because now you have some background with it. So what we call blast plans, really pushing well above your comfort zone, if you will, have a lot of advantages in the long run. It's not like you have to do them all the time, but they really are a nice, it's something to consider. We'll bring it up later, even when you're struggling, as a way to get back on track. So,
Nance,
great job, Rick.
Thank you. One last point, Nance, very quick. I would never have taken on a 12 fruit and vegetable plan if that hadn't come up 2 weeks ago and you hadn't pushed me like that.
Yeah.
So it just shows you that, for me, my comfort zone of health behaviors was 10.
Right.
But it just shows you because now when I think of a high day, guess what number I'm thinking?
12.
I'm thinking 12. And I've been doing this for 30 years. So the value of pushing oneself, that's kind of my point there.
Yeah, sometimes you need a coach that's got confidence in you. See, I knew you could do it. I wouldn't have given you that if I thought you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But if you have a coach, sometimes you can't be your best coach. You need somebody else on the outside.
Absolutely.
All right, we didn't have a lot of. It was a different episode, but I had a couple people. I'm just going to follow up. I know they're on. In case you want to report, Kate, you had said that you wanted to take on a day that was you were eating all 1s through 6s, no 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. So if you did that, you want to comment. And then Susan, who I know is also here, you've been getting on a roll with your physical activity, and you wanted to keep it going another week. So if either of you want to comment, great. And otherwise, we'll move on. I'll watch out for that, and we'll get back to the accountability spotlight at the end of the session.
Nance, I'm sorry to keep coming back to my blast plan, but it wasn't a blast just to blast. I mean, we did talk about some benefits there, but the net, like the true bottom line, all right, for most, if not everyone watching, is better calorie management. And if you just look at the average that we use in the program as a ballpark estimate for how many calories are in a serving of fruits and vegetables, we use 85. Just that gives you some starchy veggies, it gives you some less starchy, whatever. If you look at the calories I ate on a 12 veggie fruit day, okay, and then I subtracted my PA, which was not a huge PA day, I netted out the calories of my veggies and fruits were 470. That's a little quirky math thing I like to do. I look at my veggie fruit, which is like the healthiest foods I eat, subtract my PA, and it's like, my God, I only ate 470 calories worth of fruits and vegetables once I net out my PA. It was more like 1,000 of the actual. And so like the goal ultimately was to sort of practice a low calorie day, a healthy day. And I did.
And it sounds like you did it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how I couldn't have done it. I was really full at the end of the day. Yeah.
And you think about that, what do we think of when people are dieting? It's deprivation, it's starving, it's white knuckling it and everything. Right. So you ate a lot that day. Mm-hmm. You ate things that you enjoyed eating. You just named some of them, and you had a low calorie day. So again, a lot of benefits to taking something like this on.
No question. Yeah. So, was there anyone you wanted to follow?
Susan is still running almost every day. Yes, Susan. So this is like week 3. Keeping it up. Perfect.
It's great. Really good. Okay. So, are we ready to go to the next depth, the next level of getting back on track?
Yes.
We're again, our goal here is to discuss strategies, actionable steps that you can take to get back on track or to potentially avoid going off track the more of these things you practice. So I would just acknowledge just for a second, Nancy, again, I think people do need to hear this. Everyone goes off track at some point. And probably more often than others think. We tend to sort of, personalize this, like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, well, how did I blow it? So it's easy to happen. It happens to everybody. It's so discouraging, and it's so easy to feel like you've kind of lost the whole game when you're off track. But one of our whole points here is you've never lost the game if you're still playing the game. Being off track does not mean you've lost the game. So, Nancy, just cultivate it a little bit. Someone goes off track. I mean, it feels pretty lousy. What comes to mind for you when someone's off track, what they might be feeling?
I mean, it can go all over the map, but I wouldn't say any of it's positive. I think again, we tend to be our own self, critics. So I know for me, I just like, oh, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? Or oh, I just can't get it, or I'm hopeless, or I feel guilty. Why can't I be like other people? Whatever. I mean, or just you're afraid that you're going out of control and you're not going to be able to get it back. So it can be any range. It's different for different people, and it probably different at different times, depending on how little or a lot it is,
Yeah. Shane, because of the Accountability Spotlight Challenge I've been faithfully tracking for the past month.
All right.
It works. The Accountability Spotlight works. That's great.
I love that, Shane. And again, I have to say, Shane was a real trooper, too, because he committed to it one week and wasn't able to do it, and he took it on the second week and pulled it off. So just like you, sometimes that's okay. So, if you commit to something and you're not able to pull it off and you can share that, no judgment here, none.
Right.
And what often happens is, again, you try it again and you succeed.
Stay committed to the process. Stay committed to the process. It's
a learning. I always say that if something happens and your plan falls through, it's not necessarily that it was a bad plan or a bad goal. It's that there's some part of it you missed, some detail that you need to add in there to make it happen.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's my philosophy.
All right, so getting back on track, as we like to do, we threw out a thought starter to our diet community, and I don't think we need to belabor this, Nance, but I think we should. There were some great comments from people. So, and the question basically was, I know I'm going off track when blank. So take it away, Nance. What do we hear from some of the comments?
Yeah, so a couple of them, I love Jolly Roger says, I'm heading to town. So he's got a restaurant in mind for that one.
Yeah.
And then Mary was really specific. She said, well, after I found out I didn't lose weight on the scale that week, I got hot wings and jalapeno poppers delivered. So very specific.
Yep. Pretty easy to do. And isn't the scale?
Yeah.
I mean, the scale is the most it can be the most incredible reinforcement mechanism on the planet, and it can be the worst piece of feedback that you've ever gotten. Often, the times in the long term, the latter more than the former. We had sort of in one of our thought starter sort of prompts, Nancy. We had sort of made a little joking about how easy it is to kid yourself around that. So we had said, just to get people thinking, I know I'm going back off track when I promise that I'll get on the scale 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
That's called it's called the green light for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. That's right. Mañana.
What else have we heard?
These were interesting too, because these were almost like thinking about it. So we had Suzanne, I want a snack after a perfectly filling meal. Like, so what's wrong with me? I'm full. Roland, I walk by the brownies at midnight, no less. And Elizabeth, I want a snack or two after 8:30. I'm not hungry. I just have cravings.
Yes.
So,
yes.
We're all like,
yeah.
Why are we doing this?
Elizabeth, I believe, has been a regular on the last couple, and if not, that we hit on this whole idea during our More is Better episode 2 weeks ago. It is okay to want to eat. Certainly when you're hungry. I mean, please. Yeah. But even when you're not hungry, it's okay to want to eat. We evolved to want to eat. So if you need to revisit that part of that episode, we really hit on that. Like, let the judgments go. It's okay. And, everyone experiences that at some point. It's very normal to want to eat at different times.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that later. I mean, the whole point is finding something you can eat that works, that's successful. So we'll get to that. But I just have to, Donna wrote in here, I know I'm going off track when I stop moving my husband's cookies. That's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that.
No longer getting hidden? No, maybe. That's good.
Yeah. Not moving them, sitting with them, staring at them, and then they start talking to you.
Yes.
All
and
right.
you already know. Yeah, go ahead.
So let's try to cut through. There are a million ways you can go off track, but let's be honest, guys. One of the underlying consistencies with going off track usually means you're eating high calorie foods, high calorie, high fat foods, whether it's chips or cookies or crackers and cheese or fried foods or fast food or ice cream or whatever. So
whatever.
yeah, and as we like to call them, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, if you think of the HMR calorie guide. So 7s through 10s. So I think for the rest of this conversation, we want to really laser in on what are these specific things you can do to either get back on track or to prevent yourself from going off track. And I will just say, and we've hit on this a lot recently, Nancy, is all of our strategies tonight anyway are going to revolve around the to-do approach.
Yes.
So if just sort of follow this, I like to sort of show this visually. So if most of the times you go off track are because you had too many 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, those tempting foods that are hard to stop eating, how are you going to stop eating those things? Well, an elegantly simple and underutilized way is to increase your number of healthy, low-calorie foods to reduce the high-calorie foods. But most people don't do that. Most people, as we talked about 2 weeks ago, they rely on willpower. I just need to stop eating so many cookies. I'll just have one and I'll be okay. And there's 1,000 examples of that. Instead of just sitting there getting frustrated and feeling the willpower drain from your body, there's another move to make. And it's called building up your skills and expanding your skills with healthy low-calorie food as a to-do approach to help you eat fewer of the high-calorie foods and ultimately get back on track. So let's now officially roll up the sleeves, Nance. We've got 2 goals, and now I'm speaking to every one of you. If you're there and you have the access to a keyboard, which all of you do, we want you to first share. We want you to come up with at least one strategy, and we'll sort of categorize them here. So we're going to ask you to sort of share with us your best strategies in these categories, something that works for you. And the reason we want you to take the time to type that out is because what works for you might work for somebody else, but it hasn't occurred to them yet as an idea. They're only going to get that idea from me or Nancy or you. So you are full partners with us on this. And then the second thing that we're asking people to do, Nancy, is what? The take home here.
Well, as always, look for something you're not doing right now.
Yeah.
No matter how many strategies you have, there's always another one you can try. So try to find one that you hear tonight that you haven't done that you're willing to take on. And if you're so inclined, when we get to the accountability spotlight, you can post what you're going to take on, or you don't have to post it if you don't want to, but really plan to leave here with something new to try.
That's right. That's it. So please take the time to share. It adds to the richness of this discussion when your comments have actionable how-tos that you found helpful for others to see. And then also that more advanced thing, which is don't just leave this as a chalk talk, as just like, oh, that was interesting. Take something away from this and apply it to the next 7 days. Okay, so I will just, I know Kate, our fellow health coach, is on with us here, Nancy. She had said, and she was totally right, before we get into the specific strategies around food, you need to be tracking things. Because if you're not tracking things, it becomes very amorphous very, very quickly. So the first thing is, if your record keeping has fallen out, that is probably the biggest takeaway that you can get from this discussion right now. If you're off track and you're not tracking your successful behaviors, HMR foods, fruits and vegetables, physical activity, that is your first step, regardless of what phase of the program you're in. Anything you'd say about that, Nance, before I move on? I mean, that's number one.
No. And I'm saying we're already getting ideas here, so let's, I think we need to get into,
Okay, so, all right, so the to-do approach, and you guys are giving us, are these strategies that are, let me just put my glasses on and help you out here, Nance. So these are, yeah.
Well, there are a variety of strategies, so...
read a few. Let's get it started here.
Yeah, let's hear some, and then we'll kind of do what we wanted to. But Sherry's saying one useful strategy is to find an in-the-box alternative to the thing you crave. So cookies, pancakes, soup chips, cheesiest from the mac and cheese, etc. Donna says pistachio pudding works really well for her.
Mm-hmm.
Jeanette, and this, we're going to talk about this now. Before I go for that 7 through 10, I make myself a big, huge mousse. It works every time.
That's fantastic. That's really good.
Yeah.
So just Nancy, take two.
Wait, grapes. Go ahead.
A mousse. Yeah. Describe a mousse. So people like there's a shake blended in the blender. Describe a mousse.
Yeah. So a mousse is something you make in a food processor, and you may have seen Coach Jen made one at one time, like an ice cream. So a mousse or an ice cream is the same thing, but basically it's a food processor. You crush ice, then you put in a shake. Sometimes you put in a sugar-free, fat-free pudding, or you put in frozen fruit, one or the other, and you process it, and it comes out really thick, and it's like huge. It fills half or more of the bowl of the Cuisinaire. You eat it with a spoon, and it's fabulous.
You eat it with a spoon. That's the. Yeah. It's a different texture and a different volume than you get with the blended shake. Okay, great. So feel free again to just chime them in here, Nancy. I'm gonna, there's a wide, almost unending list of strategies that we could cover here. Right. So what we're going to try to do, guys, is because we want this to feel actionable to all of you, and we want to organize it under 3 categories. So around to-do behaviors to help you get back on track or prevent you from going off track. There's volume strategies, there's variety strategies, and there are timing strategies. Volume, variety, and timing. Volume essentially means eating enough food so that you're not hungry, so that you're full and satisfied. So, Nancy, there are a couple of ways to achieve volume. Take us through the 2 different ways here. And this is, I'm putting this as number 1 because the number 1 driver of going off track, if you're hungry, all bets are off. The rational person we like to think we are is gone. You gotta prevent hunger in this crazy temptation is everywhere world of ours. So how do you create the volume, Nance? Well, give us a couple of ways.
To prevent hunger, well, the first is kind of back to that blast plan, like just doing more than you typically do, maybe way more than you typically do. Not even judge yourself like, what's wrong with me? I'm eating too much. Forget it. Just keep eating. Rick's example. And the other is to prepare your meal replacements high volume, right? And the mousse is a great example of a high volume prep. So we have some others that I've seen here already. I'm seeing some other favorite double shakes. So let's since we already talked about the blast plan, Rick, let's focus on ways to make higher volume shakes and entrees, things that are really filling.
And I'm seeing them here. Sharon, my favorite double PB2 with cacao HMR 500 shake. That's a blended high volume shake. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing that. So just to be clear, the way that you can get the volume up so you're eating a lot of food without worrying about the calories is just get the numbers up, more HMR foods, more fruits and vegetables, if that's part of your plan, or specific recipes, meals or snacks that give you a lot of volume. So Sharon, your blended 500 calorie shake, I don't know if it is going to rate against my best high volume shake. Nancy, are you ready for this? I really almost feel like I need a drum roll here. So I start with a non-caloric diet soda, the orange. I use the HMR Vanilla 120, and I use at least 12 ounces. Look at how much I have. It's heavy. It's heavy. Because the soda has so much flavor compared to water, you can add a lot of ice. You can blend it for a long time. The longer you blend it, the creamier it gets. And that's my secret ingredient here. I add vanilla extract, no calories, but boom, a big pow on the vanilla flavor. Look at the straw. I can almost get it to stand up. Look at that. Very thick, very filling.
And the beauty is like the soda and the vanilla extract add no calories. So you're basically at 240 calories for the whole thing.
That's exactly right. Right here, this entire thing, I could have probably done it to the top, is 240 calories. And I'll just give you a quick comparison here. Typical foods that people might, when they're off track, I've already shared with people publicly my susceptibility to Oreos. So here we have some Oreos. Nance, I couldn't get them to match quite right. This is 40 more calories, and it's like nothing in my hand. And after I finish this, I would be inclined to look for another couple. This has 40 fewer calories than this, which my arm is actually getting heavy. It's like really heavy. 240 calories, 280 right there. Look at that.
Right. And which one are you likely to finish and not need anything else?
Are you kidding
me? Oreos or the shake, right?
This thing takes, if I'm taking my time, we're talking 45 minutes that while I'm sipping on this and enjoying it because I love it. I figured out I love this with that extract. I just love it. But yeah, so only 240 calories, 45 minutes, and I'm not looking for anything else.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, and that's a great example. I mean, that would be less than a half a cup of premium ice cream. A half a cup of premium ice cream is like minuscule. Or think about 2 ounces of cake or cookies. 2 ounces. So it's that's a huge. Yours is a huge win.
Yeah, Nance, that mythical perfect person we talked about earlier. That's the person who eats just the half cup of premium ice cream. Right. Yeah. There is no such person.
We don't know those people.
Yes. Yeah. They don't exist.
Yeah, that's so true.
All right, so volume. Any volume strategies from people in our audience? What volume? We're looking for big volume, whether it's snacks or meals. It could be shakes with or without fruit, or it could be entrees with or without veggies. Can we just give people 20 seconds here? Is there anything that's either been offered up or that people would like to offer up, just so that we're generating a wide list of ideas?
Just want to say, Casey, you said how much ice and soda. So the soda you use is 12 ounces, right?
Yeah. And when I have a can, yes. I added a little extra here because there's so much flavor. And then 2 scoops of the 120 vanilla. And that right there, even though it's so much volume, every sip is just loaded with flavor.
So, Rick, the ice, though, in general, that's, Casey, I think you kind of have to play with it until you get the right consistency for yourself. It's probably... because everybody's ice cubes are different. It's almost hard to tell
what I will say is the longer you blend it, the creamier it gets. Even if you've added too much ice, let it blend for 3 minutes. It's like a totally different consistency. Very
okay.
filling.
So, this is good. So, Shane says he has 3 to 4 cups of vegetables with every meal for volume. So again, adding huge volume with the veggies. Mm-hmm. Lentil stew over an entire bag of steamer cauliflower. Nice, filling, high-volume foods. I'm not going to get to all of these, I know. I'm just realizing, so everybody should be following along. And again, if you see something that appeals to you, remember, you're looking for something you're not doing yourself, but you look at, ooh, that sounds good.
Yep. So we're talking about how do you get back on track. What you want are specific things to do, as opposed to sitting here saying, gee, let me just eat less of the food that is most tempting to me. That doesn't work. So we're talking about volume, variety, and timing. We just talked about volume, an underutilized strategy. Are you eating enough fruits and vegetables? Should you be eating 2 or 3 more per day? Are you eating enough HMR foods? And now let's talk about variety, Nancy.
I just want to add one more because Sherry's mentioned this before. And, so Rick just showed you a double shake. Sherry does a double mousse.
Wow.
So, again, think of it. You're not adding any calories.
No.
All you're doing is you're using a food processor as opposed to the blender, which makes it that much thicker and creamier. So a double mousse, again, probably the most filling recipe we have is in the shake category. So, and I know, Sherry, you have found those to be very helpful for you for staying in the box.
Yep. Donna, I use frozen vegetables in a steamable bag. She puts the whole bag in. Puts an entree on top. I do the same thing. That's volume. That's called bulking up your meal without bulking up the calories. That's great. Really good. Yep. There's several here.
So keep posting, but we're going to move on to variety, and we're going to be asking you to start posting from that.
Yep. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Jennifer, for offering up your ideas. Look at those, guys. If we're not going to take the time to read them, those are excellent. Let's talk about variety. So volume, we probably put that way at number 1. Because if you've lost the hunger game, then you've lost the game. You've got to be full. That's who we are. Don't be judgmental about it. No problem. Variety is another thing. It adds another sort of layer of satisfaction to things. As human beings, we love variety. We need variety. We evolved to need variety. So when you can come up with different ways to do things, it just adds another level of satisfaction that insulates you from the temptations that are the things that lead you to go off track. So I guess the question here, Nancy, should we laser it in a little bit? We just talked about meal replacements.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about, let's talk about fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. We could do anything, but just there's such a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, and you can take one shake and vary the fruit enough so you've got 30 different shake recipes. So
yes.
How about you start posting your favorite fruit or vegetable and then what you do with it?
With any meal.
Let's say,
yep.
Yeah, with any meal or snack, and let's see if in the next minute or so. Again, I may not be able to read them all, but let's see what we get. Look for something you're not currently eating. We've already got, Rick's apple and PB2, but let's see, any fruit that you love, any vegetable you love. Let's get some serious variety here.
Yep. The interesting thing about variety is whenever variety is present, you will eat more. Unfortunately, that's a burden in today's food environment. Our society offers so many tempting foods that just more variety has you eating more high-calorie foods. We all do it just because there's so many different things to enjoy. Let's turn variety around to our advantage. If you can widen, and this is the work of a lifetime, right, Nancy? If you can widen your variety of healthy foods options to choose from, you will eat more healthy food options. It's just using this built-in need for variety to our advantage, but you won't have a wide variety of healthy options unless you're intentionally exploring different strategies. So that's why we want to ask people, throw up some fruits and vegetables here that you really like, and how do you use them? How do you use them?
And I have to say, this community is so good at sharing their recipes and getting ideas. And people say, "Oh, I'm going to try that. That sounds good."
Yeah.
So, you guys do a great job with this. Let's see. A minute. Hold on.
Jennifer, carrots pre-cut into chip size. Nice crunchy snacks. Don't people want the crunch? Excellent, Jennifer. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any rice steamed, the rice veggies are so good. Cauliflower, broccoli, zucchini spirals, butternut squash, spaghetti squash. Oh, spaghetti squash. I love that.
Yep.
You can have so much spaghetti squash. Sherry cauliflower mixed with mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm. Roasted acorn squash stuffed with HMR mushroom risotto. Nancy, thank you for that. Leo, you said asparagus is one of your favorites. Yes, that's great, but what do you add it to? What either an HMR entree, or how else do you eat it in a way that supports you staying on track or getting back on track? How do you use that asparagus?
Or do you need ideas? We can do that. Susan, I'm really into mini sweet peppers, sometimes with guacamole. She's in faith too. Mm-hmm. That sounds really, really good. Oh. Kiwi, good. We're getting some less, common ones, if you know what I mean.
I like Iris here, Nancy. Love putting different types of frozen fruit in my vanilla shake. Frozen cherries, fantastic. Frozen mixed berries, etc. I've been doing the same thing, and cherries have now risen to the top. They are number one for me, the frozen cherries, in my chocolate and my vanilla shakes. Thank you, Iris. I totally agree. Fantastic.
And Donna, you were mentioning the kiwi. I don't know about you, but have you found the golden kiwi? The golden kiwi, I like them even better than the green kiwi. If you ever find them, I found them at my grocery store. I just bought some this week. I really like them.
Really good.
Oh, veggie kebabs on the grill, and also including pineapple, grilled pineapple. That's fabulous. Mm-hmm. Shane likes Brussels sprouts, roasted, grilled, steamed as variety. I love Brussels sprouts. I'm with you there.
That's great.
Karen, I use the chili entree with a bag of frozen peppers and a bag of rice cauliflower and made stuffed peppers. Ooh, these canned pumpkin, another variety, in a vanilla shake or mousse.
It's great. Tracy, love roasted vegetable. Current passion is broccoli, orange bell peppers, and shallots. Shallots, Tracy, really stretching it there. Awesome. And she even gives baking directions. Tracy, you're raising the bar here for everybody. It's very intimidating.
Oh, look at Nancy, golden beets roasted and added to my salad.
Fantastic.
That sounds really good.
So Nancy.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, let me just.
I get so excited about fruits and vegetables.
I know, me too. Fantastic. So the idea here is variety gives you more things to look forward to. And we're talking about either getting back on track and giving yourself freedom with the low-calorie foods. The more is better categories are HMR foods, fruits and vegetables, with or without, separate, combined, you decide. I would say, Nancy, sort of the elephant in the room is with no matter how many successful strategies you have, for me, if I'm still facing the Oreos, it makes it harder to have the variety work for me with the healthy foods because the Oreos is still there. So just
still there.
Top of your head, what is your thought? Just make an additional point about the importance of controlling your environment to support you. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've heard this before, but it's so much easier if you don't have those tempting foods right there in front of you. Donna's example of she has to have things. She said she's short, so she has to put things above where she can reach, so that they're out of sight, out of mind, so she's not getting in them. And you have a great video that we want to send a link to called Tempting Foods. And you really talk about the key of environmental control and, just when is the best time to use environmental control or willpower? When is it easier to do that? So, and it's not when you're facing it at home and you're starving, or even if you're not starving, but you're surfing the pantry, if you will. So it's quick. It's like 4 or 5 minutes. It's a great video. It makes some great points. So, I recommend that you watch that. It's fun.
Great. Awesome. As we always say every week, Nancy, as we're strategizing and brainstorming, this whole area of health management and becoming more skilled in it, we can only scratch the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
No matter what we do. But hopefully this conversation has sparked some creativity. We've talked about the need for volume so that you are not hungry and you're feeling more full. That's number one. But then on top of that, you map this additional skill of variety, continuing to press yourself to look for new and different ways on top of the things you already enjoy. You're just getting better at getting back on track with volume and then variety. There's one last category, Nancy. It may be the most elusive in that it seems so simple, but people do not apply it to. It's so powerful, and yet it's underutilized. And that is the whole notion of timing. Looking at your day and saying to yourself, when am I most at risk to be eating the foods that lead me off track? And then, once you've identified those times, actively plugging in some of the strategies that we've just talked about. So what would you say about timing, Nancy? And its importance.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can approach it, but just going back to the thought starter and the examples about after dinner, kind of I'm not really hungry, but I'm just having cravings. Know you're going to eat. Plan to eat. Don't think like there's something wrong with me if I have a filling dinner and then I want something else to eat. I never go to bed without a snack. So the purpose is to actually identify a snack that you're going to have or find some that you like that are satisfying and plan to eat rather than not eat. So that's an example of one concept of timing.
Yep. So the question that if we could, again, I'll ask you one last time as you're watching, all of you, take a minute and share with us, share with the community here, when is your most challenging time and what do you do that has worked for you during that challenging time, that has helped you to not go off track when you're most at risk for going off track? And so let me say it again. When is the most challenging time? And what have you found that has helped you get past that witching hour? So think about that. Please take a moment. Give us a few ideas. I'll just tell you, Nancy, and I'm sure everyone is going to say this, but it's the evenings. I mean, the evenings are just, for whatever reason, they are harder for most people than other times, and that is the case for me. So I think one of the things that I like to do, I know you're a big fan of the 70 plus pudding. I am too. I love that with fruit. I like to take a Benefit bar with a hot cup of tea, and I've now graduated to Earl Grey from the orange Pico blend that I grew up with, Nancy. Big mug of Earl Grey tea, Benefit bar. Without the tea, the Benefit bar might become two Benefit bars, but it's just perfect with the tea. So that's one of the things I do. So how about you? Or feel free to read if someone's offering different ideas here.
Well, I just wanted to, Sherry, this isn't for the evening, but she says, if I'm really struggling, I eat a plain baked potato, and it's incredibly satisfying. So that's I love that. That's something different. I definitely, all right, so Susan, nighttime after dinner. Karen, I make a double pudding ahead of time. So, that's perfect. She does it ahead of time so it's ready when she's looking for something. Susan, have an extra shake or pudding, maybe fruit, maybe tea. Oh, and then Jeanette, 3 p.m. and onward, I drink water and go for a 30-minute walk. So that's another great point here. Sometimes you can just, when you're struggling, get some PA. That can be a whole mental shift. And, you've just done something healthy. You're much more likely to come back and make healthy choices. So that also. Kate, my challenging time has recently become before dinner, so I'm making a pudding or shake before dinner every night. I do that a lot.
Yes.
Because we eat late, so I'll make a pudding even while I'm making dinner, which people are going to want. Yeah, but that keeps me in control of picking.
Yes.
It can be really easy to be picking, and then by the time dinner comes, you've already eaten the dinner.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So having that pudding is a huge help for me.
Yep. Kate mentioned peas as snacks. That goes back to my edamame with the sea salt. My God, that was just fantastic. I just find those so satisfying. Nancy, I appreciate Bob here sharing. I can't be anywhere near Oreos.
Yeah.
That puts a little kink in my plans. I was going to ask Bob to come take these from me because I have the pack. So, Bob, what am I going to do? Iris is saying, get rid of the Oreos. I think I'm going to send them to Iris. It sounds like Iris has a little bit more resolve than Bob or me on those. Okay, great. Excellent. So I would say one other thing around challenging times, Nancy, the weekends. Just weekends just tend to be harder than weekdays. Yeah. What my go-to, absolutely front and center to-do strategy, big servings with whatever I'm eating on Saturday night. Pizza, big time servings. I have the veggies with it. I often like some of my routines. That is one of the things that keeps me on track, because if I'm not doing the servings, there's just so much of everything else out there in terms of just leading me down that path of, eating more of what I hadn't planned and eating a lot more of it than I thought.
If you're struggling on the weekends, one thing to do is take a look at your data, look at your weekly summary so you can see your numbers during the week and on the weekend. And what do you notice as far as meal replacements and vegetable fruits? Are your vegetable and fruits and your meal replacements higher during the week or on the weekend? And often the weekends are much lower. Now, and you think about that, if that's when you're struggling, doesn't that make sense that increasing your meal replacements and or fruits and vegetables or both or one or trying one can make a difference to decreasing your challenges on the weekend. So that's a good way to use your data to notice.
Absolutely. So
that's a good step.
I'm going to turn the corner here, Nance. We've talked about a lot. Let me just sort of tick it off here. So getting off track happens to everybody. We're super judgmental about it when it's about ourselves doing it. Stop judging yourself. Focus instead on the process. What actions can you engage in that will lead you to getting back on track or helping you to not go off track as much in the first place? Volume strategies, we've sort of pitched those as number one. Right next to it, 1B, is variety strategies as well. We saw a lot of different things here. And now we've just talked about the underutilized strategies of being more strategic in your timing. So the question here is, what have you heard that has either something specific from this discussion, or has it sparked an idea on your part of something that you can try this week within either volume, variety, or timing that isn't in your current comfort zone, much like 12 servings of fruits and vegetables wasn't in my comfort zone, and it still isn't, but I'm going to keep working on it. So what's something that you will commit to bringing into this week? What's something that you can do that is sort of evidence of you being committed to the process of expanding your skills? Because that's, again, really what we're up to here. So is there something that you want to commit to? And if you're so inclined, do you want to go to that next level and take on the accountability spotlight? Remember what Shane said earlier, it works. And I could tell you it works myself as well. Yeah. So is there something you want to commit to here within this public forum? We will follow up with you next week. And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine as well. No judgments from us on that, but it just helps you to hold your feet to the fire. So what might you do this week that's different on top of all the work you're already doing from the discussion that we've been having here tonight? Think about that. You don't have to take on the accountability spotlight. You can just write it down and use these sessions to up your game.
All right, I'm already getting a couple.
Good. Let's hear it.
Dana's going to try roasting different vegetables outside of my regular favorites. I love it.
Love that.
Kate said, oh, I forgot about the diet soda shake. I'm going to make one of those. Sherry, I need to have 7 days in the box, so she's coming out. All right, you've done that before, Sherry, and I know it's helped you in the past to have this come public with the idea of going 7 days. Doug's going to track every day, so that's great. That's perfect. That's a perfect step.
Excellent.
To tracking every day.
Excellent. Really good. Good. All right, well, feel free. We're going to wrap this up now, but feel free to, we will be looking back at the posts, and we'll be making notes and bringing that into the conversation next week. But Nance, I think this brings us to the end of our episode. Speaking to our audience, it always feels like it goes really quickly. We hope that the time you spent here was valuable. I say this every week, but we know there's so many other things competing with your time. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. And Nance, you always like to ask for suggestions from people.
Yeah,
I love that.
As always, we're going to be here. So if you have anything in particular that you would like us to talk about, post it. And we'll definitely bring it into the conversation and figure out how to do it. And then we did get a lot of comments, positive comments about phase 2 last week, and really appreciated the information about phase 2 and loved having Shane on with us and telling his story. So we definitely want to do another episode, and hopefully we're going to talk Shane. We're going to pull his arm to come back and join us and have another episode with phase 2. And again, if there's anything particular about phase 2, or any other thing, just post it. Let us know.
Yeah.
And other than that, we love, that this community keeps growing. We're almost up to 2,700, and very engaged. Just keep it up. It's just a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks for spending the time with us, guys. We really appreciate it. Have a great week. Have a successful week. Stay engaged in the process. The results will follow. And we hope to see you next Thursday night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.